Welcome in to DMase, Vingen, and Donick here on 102.5 The Game. It is a Friday afternoon spectacular. We are looking forward to the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
We've got all kinds of things to talk about today. We're going to do a little college football, sprinkled in with our Titans coverage. Titans had a little bit more of a laid-back day. The media was not invited, shall we say. We were not allowed to come out there.
We didn't get the invite.
So whatever they did, we didn't see it. But not a whole lot of news coming out of there today, but just getting cranking there. Still plenty of things to discuss as the Titans get ready for the season, including something we're going to hit on a little bit later, and that is Steve Smith, a contemporary of Derek Mason's, like Derek, an outstanding wide receiver in the NFL. He did his own little breakdown of the Titans wide receivers, and man, he is very optimistic. So we're going to get into some of the things that he said about it a little bit later in the show. Chad Withrow is going to join us at 3:20. We'll get his take on SEC Media Days, the SEC Big Ten interaction, which, by the way,
get a little spicy.
A little spicy.
Just a tad bit.
We're going to talk about that some today, too. The SEC snobbery is being challenged, I would say. The Big Ten has been flexing, led by Kurt Cignetti. He had some fun things to say. Mitch Light is going to join us to set the table for some college football. So here we are on the final day of July as we are right on the precipice of another football season. Looking forward to it. So, thank you.
Yeah, I had to hit the word. We haven't hit.
So we're off and running. We're off and running. We also have another music challenge today. This week we've been doing some music trivia. So what do we have today, Derek?
So today's theme is songs that were number one on the Billboard. What year were they number one on the Billboard?
Okay. So what kind of time span are we hitting? Are we going back to the 60s?
No. The latest one is it's like the 80s. So we're going from 80s all the way up to the current.
Okay.
So it's a wide like spectrum.
So I can ask for some hints here.
Yeah, just one hint
if needed.
One hint.
Needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think you would need more than like what year was it?
Yeah.
So,
but see, this is the key. This is where we got caught. You got to get the exact year, right?
Yes.
It's not multiple choice.
No, it's not.
All right, I'm feeling the pressure.
Choice.
Feeling the pressure.
But there was a when I was putting the music together, and my daughter was sitting at the table with me, and her mom, and so I'm playing the songs, and I guess they're listening to the songs that I'm playing. And I was like, why are you playing those songs? I said, well, we do this thing every day. All of us decide on what music we're going to play, and then we got to sort of guess the year or whatnot. The music was, big. And she was like, okay. She was like, well, is Willie, you may want to change some of your songs because Willie may think you have a crush on him. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? So she had me looking at the songs like, yeah, I get. I just picked them just because I like the songs. She was like, "Are you sure?"
You're saying don't read into anything.
Yes, don't read into anything
except
about
number
the
one
songs.
songs.
Absolutely, that they were number one songs. It's a good mixture in there. So there we go.
Okay, so
she had me laughing.
To that. Connor Newt is with us today. So Connor, how is your fatigue level at this point after doing a lot of extra work this week with the 6 o'clock hour that you've debuted this week, your coverage of the Titans at camp? So how do you feel on this Friday afternoon?
I got to tell you, man, I was gracious enough to get the afternoon off yesterday because of that, and it was the most relaxing afternoon of my entire life. The work didn't stop when I got home. I had some yard work to finish up and to mow the lawn and cut my trees, but I laid down around 3 o'clock and I was out for about 2 hours, and then I woke up and I was like, oh no, I got to do a 6 o'clock show. So it was right back to work. So fatigue levels are here today, but it's worth the fatigue levels to get the experience and the job in. So
there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
We're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. You can always call or text us and be part of our conversation. 615-737-1025. And it's driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com.
Willie, I forgot to send this article to you guys earlier, but it was from the Players Tribune. And I guess they did this expose, whatever you want to call it, on Deebo Samuel. And I got to reading it because he was talking about him coming into the NFL his first year and them going to the Super Bowl that whole first year. And what really intrigued me about it is it was this, they quoted him as saying, I thought this would happen every year. And I found that interesting because after going into my third year, I believe it was, we went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And, you get there and you're devastated because you lost, but you're looking at all these veteran guys that are crying. You think like, what are y'all crying for? We're going to be back. All these guys in here, we're coming back with maybe the exception of a few. But I'm like, we're going to have a great team. We're going to be here. And we never went back. So I understand that wholeheartedly.
Isn't it like that? I really do think that is that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember the following year when you guys lost to the Ravens. I hate to bring it up, but that was the thing that hit me, besides just the freak nature of that game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, man, I was convinced that the Titans were going to go back to the Super Bowl. They were better. You guys were better than you were the year before, and it wasn't really even close. So that was the hurt of that whole thing. I thought that whole feeling, like you said, of, well, they'll be back next year.
Exactly.
They were so close. This is going to drive them. And you guys came back and were better, but then lost in it, to be honest, a really fluky game.
Yes.
And that is what has always stuck with me. And I experienced it through watching my son's team win the national championship, because they had so many games that were so close.
Yes.
It could have gone the other way. It's so hard to win it, even if you're the best team.
Yeah.
Even if you're the best team, it's hard to win it. Things have to go your way. You might need a couple of breaks, because usually at that level, when you're talking about a championship, you're just not that much better than everybody else that you play. And so there's going to be some close games.
I'm sure you felt that way, Connor, being a UK fan. You figure, oh, man, we got these dudes. We're going to win it. If we don't win it this year, we're going to win it next year. And then next year comes and we're going to win it next year. So
every year, it's a pain that you can't escape.
Oh, man.
But I do think sometimes fans lose sight of how hard it is to win. And it almost, like Kentucky basketball would be a good example of, they've tasted it so many times that they think, well, we've won it 10 times or whatever it's been, we're going to win again. But it doesn't, it hasn't gotten easier. It's gotten harder. Yeah. I think with each passing year and the parity that you see and all of the tweaks to systems where you have salary caps, and that creates more parity. And in college sports, we're seeing a lot more parity too. But fans still have that mentality of, we're supposed to win the national championship. It's hard.
Yeah, especially in college sports, where across all sports, really, you're seeing the underdog start to emerge. Like in basketball, we could go with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has raised it. Football too. They've raised the standard. They are a competitor year in and year out. Indiana in football just went undefeated, won a national championship. Nebraska in basketball, they went to the Sweet 16. That's never been done before by them. So in college sports, parity is all across the board, and you're not seeing the stereotypical world beaters year in and year out compete for a national championship as much as they should be.
And I think it also has changed. And this is why, when we hear people, whether they text us or they call us, and they're not as high on the Titans, that's why I sort of think like, man, why not? Because sports isn't like it used to be. It's not going to take you 3-4 years. And I understand that the Titans hadn't been a good team for the last 4 or 5 years. I get that. But to think that they can't turn this thing around in 1 year, and not to say to win the Super Bowl, but put themselves in a position where they are a playoff team rather than not. That's why I look at it from that standpoint, because it's like with free agencies, you bring in a new coach, you finally think you're getting things right. Anything can happen throughout the season, whether it be injuries, or things of that sort. How you think of them now may be totally different from when, after we finish week 10 or 12. And then you kind of see where the landscape is.
A couple other notes to hit before we get to Chad Withrow. I was reading this today about Travis Hunter. This is a Titans adjacent topic here because the Jaguars, how they're doing, directly affects how the Titans are doing. We had all of that discussion last year of how hard it was going to be for Travis Hunter to actually be worth it to the Jaguars, to give up what they gave up to get him, and have him be able to do what really nobody's been able to do. And really in any sport outside of Shohei Ohtani, which is it's a different thing. It's unbelievable what Ohtani has done. But Travis Hunter trying to play two ways, I was curious, DMase, because he played 7 games last year. Ironically, the Jaguars had a good year, but not because of him. He didn't do a whole lot, and his season ended by the end of October due to injury. I was wondering if they would come back with a little bit of a different approach, but that's not the case. They plan on him playing offense and defense again, that he's tried to put some weight on. Everybody's excited about. This is what we always have to be conscious of when we're talking about the Titans, that everybody's talking, hey, I love the new coaches and I love the new system. This is going to work great. Everybody's got that same level of hope right now. And so they're really high on Travis Hunter coming back. But I was reminded of our discussions last year of just how hard it's going to be. I wonder if it'll be any better in his second year.
I'm not sure. You hope that I'm sure Jaguar fans hope that it is. And one is he has to be, he has to be able to stay on the field. He missed a huge portion of the season last year. And, double that with being a rookie. I mean, that sets you back, months as far as learning what to do and seeing offenses or defenses, both in his case. But I am surprised that they're choosing to say we're going to continue. Now, it all depends on how much, because they can use him in situations where, third down, some gadget play, something like that. Even if you think about Dion or Champ Bailey or Woodson, guys like that, they played, but it was very sparingly and at specific times in the game.
I consider
I
those
think
guys
that's how they're going to use him.
Who
exactly
contributed on offense.
They need him more on defense, I think, than they do on offense. They can use his gadget plays or his ability to beat one-on-ones in certain situations, but he can't be a guy that you rely on heavy to be out there, majority of the game on offense.
So that's just one to watch. Travis Hunter, because I don't want to say he's a forgotten man, but he's a guy that they didn't get a whole lot of last year. He got hyped up. They hyped him up as much as anything, that this is the generational guy that's going to do what hasn't been done before. They didn't get much, but they still did well. So how's he going to do this year? That's something to put on the back burner. Another thing we just saw that came down this afternoon was that DeAndre Hopkins is going to coach on the college level. He's going to Georgia Tech to help with their receivers. And it's just crazy because a couple years ago, we were wondering, how long is DeAndre Hopkins going to play? Is he one of those guys that can get into his 30s and still play just because of his unique skill set, right? He didn't rely on speed and quickness. And now he's moving on to something else. It just shows you how hard it is. And you can relate to this because you lasted a lot longer than most receivers. But being able to keep doing it into your 30s, it's the older you get, the harder it gets.
Yeah, that's why each and every year you have to reinvent yourself. You have to be willing to know that your role is changing and embrace it, because it may be asking you to do something else, which it may prolong your career. If in year 8, for the first 6 years you've been a deep threat, you've been that guy, that starter, and then all of a sudden, they're not looking at you in that form. Are you going to be able then to adapt to that and play the role that they're asking you to play and flourish in that role? Because when that happens, it prolongs your career. And listen, Hop had a stellar career, outstanding career. Many would say it's a Hall of Fame career. Um, he spent some time with Coach Vrabel in New England for a bit, and now he's at Georgia Tech. So it seems like this is a guy that wants to stay involved with football from a coaching aspect, or at least, that's what he's trying to fill out.
It was interesting. He went from when the Titans traded him after one pretty solid season. He had 75 catches. He had over 1,000 yards. Not superstar stats like he had at the peak of his career, but he did a nice job that first year. Second year, not as big, and they traded him at the deadline. And there were some before that second season were saying they need to keep him around for a while. But it just showed since they've traded him, I think they fairly got off the ride at the right time because he diminished pretty quick.
Yeah.
He was on the Ravens the entire year last year and caught only 22 passes for 330 yards. So he's going to the coaching ranks. I wonder how quick he'll make the transition. I don't know him well enough to know, but I've always been curious. Like you probably had an opportunity if you wanted to shop around and go into coaching, you probably could have done it. You've worked with young receivers. How tough do you think that would be to transition straight from the league to major college? Some could probably do it more naturally than others.
Yeah, I think some are just innate. What's in them is coaching, being able to, break down something in a way that someone else can understand it and go out there and play to their full potential. There are guys like that littered throughout the NFL that are still playing. There are guys that come in as rookies, and you can sort of see that mentality or see that thought process in them as far as how they look at the game. When I'm not sure how hard it is, I guess it all depends on, because I think when you decide you want to go to coaching, when you decide you want to go to coaching, you got to be done with the game.
Yeah.
You have to be in your body, in your mind, in your heart, you got to be done with the game. Because, as a player, because you can't go out and try to commit yourself to being the best coach you could possibly can, but also thinking, I can get back in the game. You can't do it. It has to be exactly. It has to be either you're all in or you're not.
That's a good point.
I think a lot of guys because not many guys go automatically into coaching. They kind of wait for a few and then they kind of go. But those guys that have thought about this, like while they were playing, those are the guys that typically like, okay, let me try this out, see if I like it. I thought about it while I was playing, but let me see if I really like it now. And Hop, maybe he was one of those guys. He thought the game out extremely well. So maybe he's choosing now to, take his talent and use it in another way, but still be able to stay with the game.
Yep. And
there's
been a lot of great players in a lot of sports that are great players, but when they went into coaching, it was not as easy for them to explain why they were great.
Why you just can't do it?
Why can't you do it like I did it? Well, I'm not you. I'm not as good as you. All right. When we come back, Chad Withrow is going to join us, and we'll bounce around with him. We'll get some SEC thoughts from him. And then later in the hour, we're going to talk about just how how good are the Rams? We're going to hit that a little bit later in the hour. Stay tuned. We're talking Friday afternoon, Nashville, Tennessee. This is DVD. Hang with us here on 102.5 The Game. Okay, is this the first quiz?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Little Pharrell. So I got to guess the year.
Yeah, you got to guess the year.
Golly,
You
of
know it's Pharrell and who else?
It's Alan Thicke's. Is
There
it
we go.
Robin? Robin
Yep.
Thicke? Yeah.
What year was it?
See, this is the problem. Yesterday I excelled, or 2 days ago I excelled because of the 80s. I can pinpoint year by year in the 80s. You get to the 2000s, it gets a little fuzzy.
But this was a huge song.
It,
Willie.
oh, it was a
I haven't
huge
looked
song.
at the years either,
It was a
Willie.
huge
This was
song.
a huge song.
This is my era right here.
Man, I'll feel good if I'm within 3 years on either side of this thing.
You want a clue?
I'll take one clue. I need my one clue.
Okay.
And then we're going to get to Chad Withrow. And before we reveal, we'll get Chad to guess. Is Chad ready for us? I feel like he's a little younger. He might still be in the part of his life where he can remember year by year when this was out.
It was between the years
Oh, I got a range.
of 2009 and 2016.
Okay. That makes me feel good because that's kind of where I was in my head. All right, so we're going to bring in Chad. Chad, we got to get the exact year. These are number one songs.
Number one songs on
We know this was a
Billboard.
big
Number
song.
one songs.
2012.
2012. Well,
Okay, hold on.
He seemed to be very, very excited. about
He
that.
was kind of
So
confident.
this will be the equivalent of phone a friend. I'm going to go with Chad just because of the decisiveness of his answer. Let's see if he's right. Oh,
The year was 2013.
okay. So
You were a
Chad
year
was all
off.
over it. All over it.
You're a year off.
All over
Nothing
it.
wrong with that.
It's a
I
good
feel like
song.
Chad was right. It was probably released in 2012 and it hit number one in 2013. I think that's within the range.
Hey, listen.
I'm saying correct.
I would have said it too. The way how confident Chad was.
Oh,
I'm like, yep,
yeah.
2012. There we go.
The Olympics were in London. Robin Thicke was at the top of the charts. 2012 just felt right. It felt like it was 2012. And I feel like Daft Punk, their song was
Yes.
right around. It was either 2012 or 2013. I actually, in the last couple of years, listened to a podcast about the year 2012 in music, and I feel like that song was in it, but apparently I was wrong. I was 1 year off.
I feel like we're close. That's a horseshoes. We need credit for that.
Hey, man, you'll get another
People
shot.
still play horseshoes. I don't know. It's not a video game of horseshoes. You got to find the authentic horseshoes.
What the
You
heck
don't
is
see that.
horseshoes?
Oh,
Don't see it very
wow.
often.
Okay. No, you're just playing.
But Chad, before we start talking a little football here, tell people what's going on with your show, you and Hut.
Yeah, so we're right now we're doing the Tennessee Power Hour, which is basically our old local show. We're just doing that an hour twice a week, dropping Mondays and Thursdays. But that's sort of in preparation for what's going to be a 2-hour show that we will launch on August 17th. This is going to be tied to something bigger that I can't announce yet. It's actually going to be announced that week that we launch. But on August 17th, that Monday, we're going to be live from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. I need some advice on morning shows from anyone who's ever done it. Never hosted a morning show before, so I'm going to have to get my nap in the afternoon or whatever that takes. But we'll be ready to go 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time on YouTube. Hutton and Withrow is where you can find us there. And there's going to be a bigger announcement, Willie, that week that's going to explain a lot more. So we're really excited about it. It's going to be part of a larger network of shows, and it's going to be exciting. So we're looking forward to it.
All right. Sounds
Mornings
like
are
fun.
great in the summertime. After that, they're horrible. They're horrible.
Well, and I'm not like
As far as
5
like
a.m.
getting
start.
up. Yes.
You know, I mean, I say morning, like, and I think that this is going to be done from a home studio.
Mhm.
So, I mean, DMase, we're talking about rolling out of bed at 6:15, throwing some water on my face and drinking some coffee and going on from another room in my house
Mhm.
at 7. You know, I'm not exactly digging ditches here, so I can't complain too much. But, yeah, I feel like those guys who do like 5 a.m.,
Mhm.
it's just a totally
Ooh.
different lifestyle when you're having to go to bed at, 9 o'clock to get up at 4 a.m. or whenever that is. So luckily I'm not quite that early, but still early for me.
So, Chad, I will say this. Again, I'm going to be hearkening back to younger days. But when I start listening to discussion of the day-by-day deliberations of the Congress trying to put this college act together, my brain just turns to mush. And like the more details they give me, the more I just shut down. Like, tell me when it's over, because nothing grabs me of like, oh, that's the breakthrough. They're going to get on this. Are you as skeptical about this as I am? Where is this going?
It numbs the brain, Willie, to say what you just said. I mean, it really does. And it really comes down to, it's this simple: lawsuit bad, money good. That's what they're trying to get to, right? They're trying to avoid litigation with whatever happens. So there has to be some antitrust exemptions that will be passed, similar to what's been passed for the NFL and for other pro sports, for college sports, but you still have to have that exist within a collegiate structure. So I don't really understand how that all works. It all sounds great. I want rules like everybody else in college sports, but how you get to that while maintaining some semblance of an educational aspect of this and not just pay for play minor league sports, I don't know how you get there. I saw Kyle Whittingham speak at Big Ten Media Days, and I did like what he said about, look, this needs to be a minor league for the NFL. You know, these guys aren't as good as NFL players. They're not as old, but we need to partner with the NFL in some way and make major college football some sort of a minor league system with an NFL-like structure to it. And if you can get to that, but again, I don't know how you get to that while also requiring kids go to school and be academically eligible, right? I know we're probably going to get to Arion Carter. I didn't know that rule still existed that we're talking about with this. Like, when was the last time someone was academically ineligible for a bowl game? It may have been when Blurred Lines was number one, 2013.
You're right. I was going to say.
Was that the last time? I mean, you want to talk about blurred lines. When does APR and academics matter for any of these things? When is someone, passing all or failing all their classes and can't play late in the season? So I just don't know how it all coexists together. But, we need to get to a place where it does again. And hopefully, I mean, when you're looking to the federal government to help, that's probably a bad thing. But that's where we are right now.
Speaking of it being hard to get busted cheating, you had a couple of interesting stories that had people actually asking the question, there are rules? You actually can get caught for cheating, like Michael Lombardi getting basically asked to leave. You wonder what's going on behind the scenes of that, but that seems to be under the category, Derek, of what Adam was talking about, people who have no fans.
Yes.
Michael Lombardi doesn't seem to have any fans as he's been ousted at North Carolina. But Chad, what do you make of that one?
Michael Lombardi is Will Smith at the end of Fresh Prince, looking around the room with no furniture and no one there. That was him. Hey, where are my guys? Where's Jordan, Bill's girlfriend? Is she going to have my back? Anybody? No? And move on. Yeah, it's bad. On Carter thing. I'm going to go ahead and get to that.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted, because I'm sure that that one just makes no sense at all.
$427. Yeah. I mean, it's $427. This is how ludicrous this is, guys. If Arion Carter had an NIL agent in high school at Smyrna High School when he was a Smyrna Bulldog, he could have charged 10 to 20 grand just to go on a visit, to go see your college. That could have been the entry fee to go on visits in high school. That's what's going on right now with NIL. And it's completely look the other way, no problem at all, for guys to collect money in the name of name, image, likeness, just to go visit your school if you're a 4 or 5 star prospect. And he got pinched for $427 when he paid it back and he disassociated from his agent. The rule itself is flawed.
Right.
Okay,
that's the only reason it happened, right? It's just poor it's poor writing of the rule. It's the fine print.
Yes. Well, if you're going to allow someone to go through the draft process and withdraw and come back to school, Willie, then as part of that, you should then allow them to pay back money that was paid to them and disassociate with an NFL agent, and then they're fine. They're free of that, right? Like there needs to be a second layer to the rule, because all the kid did was he said, all right, I'm going to go through the process. He went through the process. NFL doctors told him, look, you're going to need another surgery. You're not going to be drafted where you want right now. If you go back to school and prove it for a year and stay healthy, you're going to be a high draft pick. He decided to do that. He's been at Tennessee his whole career. And I thought Josh Heupel said it well in a statement. Been at Tennessee his whole career. He's not someone who bounces around transferring for top dollar year after year. He's going to graduate in August. He'll be going to graduate school. He's getting a degree in public health at Tennessee. I mean, it's just the absolute worst type of example that you can set if you're the NCAA with all these other issues. To suspend Arion Carter for $427 is ludicrous. And if I'm Tennessee, I'm playing that guy against Georgia Tech. I don't care if it takes one lawsuit in Campbell County Court with one Vol-loving judge to say you were stopping him from his ability to make money by not playing on national TV at Georgia Tech in game number 2, and they give him that temporary injunction to play, that's fine. Go the Charles Bediako route if you want, where they found a favorable judge to allow him to play for a while, and then eventually everyone found out exactly what should happen. Oh, yeah, he's not eligible. Why? Because he played professional basketball for multiple years. We let a guy play pro basketball, guys, and then go back and play at Alabama. And Arion Carter is not going to play at Georgia Tech because of $427. If I'm Tennessee,
But he paid back. He paid it back.
I would dare the NCAA to do something. I'd play them, and I would dare them to do something about it.
Now, with that being said, Chad, do you think this is just another thing to add on to, why we need to leave the NCAA and create our own thing in regards to the SEC? Because Heather Dinich reported that there has been serious talks of leaving the NCAA. Do you think they're ever going to get to that point?
But nobody wants it. That's the problem with it. Like, yes, we need to get to that point. And I've thought for a while we need to get away from major college football. Needs to be its own thing. It needs to be run like the NFL. It really does. They need to have their own legislation, their own guidelines, everything. Major college basketball, men's basketball should be its own separate thing. It generates enough money. There's enough money going around where it should have its own league. I mean, I think the NCAA can handle lacrosse. They can handle rowing. Right now they can probably handle softball, maybe baseball, maybe not. There's a number of sports that the NCAA could manage. They can't manage all of the interest and all the money, especially in football. So they should break away. But anytime you ask anyone about breaking away, what do they say? Well, I don't want it. Mm-hmm. Nick Saban, hey, you got a lot of good ideas. You should be the commissioner of college football. Well, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want that. I mean, who's going to take over that and say we're going to run it? And good luck if it's Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey trying to figure that out. So if those are two guys up for it, you think they're going to come to an agreement on who should run college football with those two leagues butting heads? I mean, it's a mess right now, but certainly, especially with the Arion Carter story, the NCAA needs to not be in the business of legislating college football.
So what do you make of what Signetti said about the SEC? Because listen, this has been an ongoing thing now. And yes, the SEC has been supreme for many years, but over the last 4 years, I think the Big Ten has toppled them. I'm not saying that it's going to continue to happen, but what do you make of what he said?
Well, so I think a lot of this. One, Signetti's right in what he said. Two, for someone who's going to brag about, we just put our head down up here in the Midwest and do our work and don't talk, he sure does a lot of talking. So I don't know that he's the guy to deliver that message about not talking. That guy was talking trash at his opening press conference before he'd earned or done anything. Now he's gone on and earned it and proven himself, no doubt about it. And I like Curt Signetti. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying two different things are true here. One, the Big Ten has had the best team in America the last 3 years, and it's been three different programs. It's not one team repeating itself over and over again. That's a huge notch in the belt for the Big Ten. And the Big Ten should be celebrated for that. And right now, I would say because of that, the same reason the SEC bragged for years about that national title, the Big Ten's the best conference. Now, does that make the Big Ten the best conference top to bottom? I don't think so. Because the problem with the Big Ten is repeatedly the bottom 6 and 7 teams in that conference are not good. And that's where the SEC is different. Now, there are some bad teams in the SEC. There's one or two every year that aren't very good. But I don't have the standings in front of me. But if you pulled up the bottom 6 or 7 in both conferences and said head-to-head, what's going to be the tougher road trip? What's the tougher road trip between Northwestern or going to Mississippi State or Arkansas? It's not even close. I mean, there's just some bad teams.
Depending on what time of year you go.
At the bottom of that conference. Well, look, it's true. Yeah, frostbite could be a factor in some of these places. But yeah, I mean, I think the depth
I get what you're
of the
saying.
SEC is where they win, but also for SEC people out there, and I'm one of them. I mean, it's tough to sit around and thump your chest when you're not, winning college football playoff games the way you had before, or not even getting to the college football national championship game. So yeah, I'll be the first to say it right now. 10 has every reason to brag.
We're going to get into this later in the show. Chad has set the table for our 5 o'clock topic. But, Chad, as we let you go, what is the over-under on whether Lane Kiffin is back on social media now? After telling everybody last week that he was been off of social media. I don't look at anything like that anymore. Like, do you buy that, or do you think he's back?
I think he's got a burner. I want to find out
maybe
what that
multiple
burner
burners. Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, yeah, he's peaking at social media. He may not be active right now with posting, but I guarantee that guy's paying attention to what's going on in social media. I don't know what his latest yoga trend is or his diet or anything else, but I feel like when the yoga trend / diet changes, Willie, that dude's going to be back on X, and he's going to be posting away, and he's going to be ribbing all sorts of coaches and fan bases. So it's not going to be long for him to be done with social media. That's for sure.
He's always got something that he brings to the table, and his first year, it's not going to be dull down at LSU for sure.
Let me just say this too. He's just an odd dude. Like, he's just very different. I was down at SEC Media Days and saw him, and he is a strange fella. Like, just there's like, you look at his eyes and it's something off. Something's not connecting. It's like he's just not of this world. It's almost alien-like when you're around Lane Kiffin. And I've dealt with him before, and when you're just having a conversation with him, he's kind of got that smartest guy in the room type thing about him, and he's very smug, and he's a smart aleck about everything, but it's odd. He's a very good coach, right? It's just like he's operating on a different wavelength than everyone else, different frequency with Lane Kiffin. That's for sure.
I'm sure it'll go very smooth. The LSU fans are very understanding if things go wrong. I mean, what could go wrong down at LSU? Him and Lane Kiffin. Boy, that is get your popcorn. Chad, have a great weekend. Great to catch up with you, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, you guys have a great weekend also. Always fun talking to you.
All right, Chad Withrow joining us here on the show as he does every Friday. When we come back, we'll throw our little NFL change of pace topic. We're going to talk about the Rams. We're gonna go through how close they were to winning the whole thing last year. And if it weren't for a team within their own division, they might well have won it. But now they've got Myles Garrett, and they might get Aaron Donald back. How scary good are the Rams? Let's talk about them when we come back. And then during the 4 o'clock hour, we'll get into some Titans stuff, including Steve Smith, the great wide receiver, his optimistic look at the Titans wide receivers. We've got a lot coming here on DVD. Keep it right here on 102.5 The Game. Now, this song was huge. We're back here on DVD. Our theme has been music trivia this week with the musical theme. There's been a little quiz associated with the music coming back from breaks. I got to get the year of this. I want to make sure I get this right because I think I know this.
You know who the person is, right?
Oh, Olivia Newton-John.
Absolutely. Come on.
This one was number one for like 10 straight weeks.
Yes.
I don't really know why, because it doesn't quite have the staying power as some songs. It was a good song, but I like some other songs of hers better, actually. But I'm going to say she was all the rage. I'm going to go. Now, this is one like winter months. Could it be turnover from year to year?
This song, not the album. The song was number one, not the album was number one, because I don't think the album was ever number one.
I'm going to declare it's 81 or 82. It's one of the two.
You got to.
I'm going to say 81. Boom.
There you go, Willie. There you go. It's the song, Willie.
Okay.
Did we not learn the other day? Don't try Willie Donick with the 80s.
The 80s. It's hard to get the fastball by me. It's hard to get the fastball by me in the 80s.
We may have
you
some
go to
80s.
The 2000, I had to phone a friend.
There may be another 80s in there. There may not be.
May not be.
Who's to say?
Time for our little change of pace topic. We want to do each day a little NFL topic that Titans fans would tune into. It's a big league story or something that directly affects the Titans. This one, maybe not quite in that category, but I think it's going to be one of the bigger stories to watch around the league, and that is the Rams. And we still don't know if Aaron Donald is coming back, but there's a lot of vibes. Like he's gone far enough down the road that we think it's going to happen. Do you feel like Aaron Donald is going to play at some point, even if he takes half the season off? And
I think there's a higher possibility that at some point he will return than not.
And he would even be gravy. Even if he doesn't, they're still going to be really good because they have a guy named Myles Garrett now.
Well, I guess he wouldn't he have to come back before a certain point, or it doesn't matter?
That's an interesting rules question.
Because you gotta have the money under the cap, but then you can finagle that anyway. But you do have to have the money under the cap to be able to sign them. And we know that the Rams they don't mind spending money. So will they have enough money? Or they have.
I feel like they're going to have their plan.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to plan it.
Yes.
I think they probably know, but we'll see. Now here, think about the Rams last year. They did not make it to the Super Bowl. They lost 5 games in the regular season. Now, here are the 5. So you might remember one or two of these, even if you're just kind of a fantasy football player who watches the games every Sunday. Even if you didn't watch all these games, you might remember some of these things. Their first loss was against the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champs. And in that game, they had the game won. They got a field goal blocked, run back for a touchdown to lose the game. Remember that?
Yes.
Blocked field goal returned, and I don't want to bring up any more bad memories. Blocked field goals returned for touchdowns.
Yeah, I've had my share of those.
We're not going to go there. Second loss, overtime against Robert Saleh and the 49ers.
I don't remember that.
Good team. But it goes to overtime. You got to beat them in overtime. In hockey, you would get a point.
Yeah.
You don't get that in the NFL. Third game, week 13. Against the Panthers in Charlotte. Rainy game, pick 6, 4th down, touchdown bomb. Okay, it happens. 4th game they lost. Overtime barn burner against the Seahawks. That was a night game. Remember, later in the season. The Rams were up 30-14 in that game. And it was a crazy game. And because they lost, they had to play at Seattle in the NFC Championship game and not at home.
Which could have cost them. That could have been a deciding factor for them.
And the last loss was after they had already clinched the playoffs, and they lost to the Falcons, and it was still a last-minute 51-yard field goal. So the bottom line is it was really hard to beat the Rams last year, and if one or two bounces, if the kicking was better, you could argue, they might have won the thing.
Yeah.
If that game is in Los Angeles and not in Seattle, NFC Championship game, do they win that game? Maybe. There's
a possibility.
And, of course, the other team that won it, the Seahawks, was a great team, a really good team.
This team is going to be interesting because people are waiting for Stafford to fall off, sort of kind of like people are just waiting for Derrick Henry to sort of fall off, and Derrick Henry hasn't showed any signs of slowing down. And I can say that for Matthew Stafford as well. Last year, he ended up winning the MVP. Now, the whole deal with him is his back. Will his back be able to hold up?
Key.
You know, but if his back holds up, there's nothing that would convince me to say the Rams could represent the NFC in a Super Bowl, because they have everything. Then you add Myles Garrett. I know that Jared Verse is gone now, but you add a all defensive player, the best outside in the game right now, maybe the best defensive player overall in the game right now. So you add that to potentially, guys coming back, and and defense is already good. So if they get Aaron Donald back, I mean,
it's just great.
It's almost like
that should.
It's almost like cheating
defense.
in a sense on the defensive side of the ball. But again, this is the NFL, and anything can happen. Maybe the layoff, will not work in his favor, even though you've been practicing, working out, and you still stay true to your regimen and everything else. That's great. But football shape and being in shape is two different. Even if you've done everything that you can humanly do in the off season, it still doesn't prepare you necessarily for the condition you have to get in. When it comes to football condition, because now people are pushing on you, laying on you, grabbing you, pulling on you. You weren't doing those things during the off season. So maybe that's why you saw Aaron Donald with the pads. They had that film of him walking on the practice field with the pads, because he's trying to get his body, even though he's probably in great shape, he's trying to get his body acclimated to having the pads on and people going in his legs and stuff like that. But if he comes back, and if he's 60% of what he was when he left, I mean, how do you one, run against that defense, but then how do you consistently score points against that?
They were the fourth best defense last year, according to FTN Almanac. And that was before they traded for Myles Garrett, and that was without, obviously, Aaron Donald, who's been retired. But like you said, even if Donald is just a role player who they rotate in there on, whatever's comfortable as he builds back that football shape, that's pretty scary, because the offense was the best offense in the NFL last year. So the only question is, can they keep Stafford healthy? Because you've got McVay, the brilliant play caller. They just know exactly what they want to do offensively. Some people have thrown out 15 wins. Now, in a 17-game season, that's really something to say that they could win 15.
I mean,
but do you think it could be that dominant, or in that division with the 49ers and the Seahawks, is that too high of is that too much hype?
I don't think dominance. I would say dominance, because I think even in those games, even if they beat those teams that are within their division, even if they beat them, but I predict all of those games will be closely contested games. So even if you do beat Arizona, San Fran, and Seattle, I think they all will be close. So you can't say it's like dominance. I think, it all depends on, what happens within the division when it comes to injuries. If, the Rams can stay healthy, then you figure they would be the best team. But what if they get an injury? What if San Fran doesn't get hurt? How do they look? Because San Fran has been prone to having guys get hurt during the season.
That's a question for another day, is what do the 49ers look like as they still bring back the same old guys, and they're a year older, they've been banged up, but can they still be a contender? Connor, what do you think? Super team, the Rams, or overhyped?
Super team, for sure. I don't know if I would go as far as 15 wins. I could see them winning 12 to 13. They're going to play in a tough division this year. The NFC West, I think 3 of the 4 teams are going to be playoff contenders, and the 49ers, the Seahawks, and now the Rams. But, I mean, if they get Aaron Donald back, which I don't know if it's too late to do that, I think you guys hit on that, but The Myles Garrett edition makes sense. I could totally see them going out and getting Vita Vea from Tampa
Oh
Bay.
my gosh, don't even.
So here's a question for both of y'all and for the listeners, if they want to participate, 615-737-1025. Minus Vita Vea. He's not on the team. And minus Aaron Donald. But let's just put Aaron Donald. Let's put Aaron Donald back in there because he said that would be the super team, right?
Okay.
So do you think that team is better than the team they put together and won the Super Bowl? Because they went out and they got big names too.
Oh, yeah.
They got Stafford. They got what's the defensive back name?
Jalen
Ramsey. They had a young Aaron Donald. They had guys they had a young Cooper Kupp.
That was Cooper Kupp prime
Van
time.
Johnson, Jefferson was
playing.
playing really well. They had other receivers. So is that iteration of the Rams better than what can potentially be this year's team?
I would think this team is better. Just more seasoned. They got all the pieces moving. But that's a question we will answer throughout the season. So that is our change of pace today. We get back, we'll go back to the fastball. We're going to talk some Titans and their training camp. Steve Smith, some very interesting things to say about the wide receiver corps. By the way, I got sent a fun text by our buddy Chip Walters from MTSU. Murphy Center on the campus of MTSU, Olivia Newton-John, the physical tour, December 12th, 1982. So
there we go.
After the wave of 1981, the physical, she was A-list back at the time.
Chip has a deep concert bag too.
That's pretty good stuff. All right, we're coming back with the 4 o'clock hour next here on DVD. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, known as DVD, here on 102.5 The Game. We're hanging on a Friday afternoon. Willie, Donick, Derek Mason, Connor Newt here with you. Adam Vingan will be back with us on Monday. We'll be back to full strength for the first time after everybody's rotated through their vacation days. We're excited about this show and what's coming up in football season. This is the final day of July, but we are hitting some different things. We often put things through the wide receiver translator, get Derek's perspective as a longtime NFL all-pro type wide receiver. And one of his contemporaries, Steve Smith, has a podcast as well. And it caught our attention the other day. They had basically a 30-minute breakdown of only the Titans wide receivers. And I'm like, wow, they took the time to do that? That's interesting, because a lot of, we talk about all the time that outside of this area, unless the Titans are really good, the Titans are kind of off the radar, right? It's not unusual to hear a podcast like that talk about the Packers or the Cowboys or the Steelers. But they really went into some detail on the Titans, and it was interesting to compare notes, so to speak, between Steve Smith and yourself. And I thought, and you tell me what you before we play a clip or two here, did you think it kind of fell in line? I think you guys see this group the same way, both pretty optimistic about the upgrade here.
I am definitely optimistic about the upgrade, as well as the young players that are on there. And when I mean young, they're all young, but what I mean is Alec and DK, those two guys that played last year. I am as equally excited about those two than what I am about Tate. And I'm very excited about Tate and what Waddell could do. I know what Calvin Ridley can do. He just needs to stay healthy. But I'm excited about DK and Alec because that is the floor of their room right there. If they are better, it raises everything up for everybody else. That room gets better as the sort of weakest link at that point gets stronger. So I'm more excited about those two guys than I am about the three guys that are going to be starters. And I'm very excited about those two. But Steve Smith he likes the way that they're going to supposedly use each individual within that starting lineup, whether it be Wandell in the slot, quick game, get the ball, get some yak after that, hopefully, or Carnell Tate, that big physical X that can, get away from press coverage, that can make those contested passes. He was one of the highest rated receivers when it came to combat catches in college. I think he may have been the best. So they're going to use that ability and enhance it even more. And what Calvin Ridley is, as we talked yesterday, Willie, he's going to be their deep threat guy. He has to be their deep threat guy, because even at his age, I still think he's the fastest receiver they have. And so with that being said, they tried him at the number one. It didn't go as planned. A lot of it had to do because he wasn't available. And he just was a little bit inconsistent early on in catching the football. But now he slides into, I think, what is his natural position at this point of his career, and he can be the deep threat guy. Why? Because he still has the speed to get downfield, and he's proven it.
Another thing that he really emphasized is how much of a believer he is in Brian Daboll. And that surprised me because, to my recollection, I don't remember Steve Smith ever being playing on a team where Daboll was part of the staff. Like, he has just got an admiration for him from afar. And he said he's had the opportunity to go in and sit in on some meetings where Daboll is teaching, but he's very impressed with him. And so that's where a lot of the optimism comes from, that Daboll is as touted. Like, it means to me a little more hearing it from Steve Smith than just the general, because I feel like Daboll, his reputation exceeds the actual results, right? It's not like the Giants went to the playoffs 5 straight years. It's not like, he's, I don't want to say he's overrated, but he has a impeccable reputation as an offensive mind. And then you look year to year, the teams he's had, it doesn't really match up to that. But Steve Smith, when he says that, I took note.
Yeah, because if you look at it, you can only draw from what you're watching. and how well those guys are performing within the offense that you're calling. So you look at, Dabo when he was in Buffalo, he had Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley was that slot guy that got open, caught a bunch of balls, moved the chains. And he had a successful career when he was with the Buffalo Bills. Then you look at, and this is another reason I think Steve Smith really believes in what Dabo can do with all three of those different type of receivers. Then he goes to the Giants and he gets Malik Neighbors, an outside guy, big physical guy with speed. They can play both inside and outside, but you primarily have him at outside, and he's your high volume guy. That can be Carnell Tate. So I've seen what Malik Neighbors could do under a Dabo offense. And then the very next year when Malik gets injured, Wan'Dale Robinson. Now you're going back to the Cole Beasley days. Now I see again how productive that middle guy can be in the Dabo system. So if you look back, I've seen how productive he can have as an outside guy with speed, and then also an inside slot guy. So you can't help. If you believe in Dabo, you got to believe in the talent that's on the field, because those three guys that are going to be the starters represent a lot of what he's been coaching. Wan'Dale twice now, and then you look at Cole Beasley and Malik Neighbors.
Here's what I want to ask the listeners at 615-737-1025. Want to hear from you. I think you could argue now that you have a lot of competition on a team that's won 3 games back-to-back years. The offensive line would get a lot of votes, but I think last year in particular, with Ridley getting hurt and you had a couple of rookies having to play all the time in Iomanner and DK, and as admirably as they've done, they were rookies, and they were both 4th-round picks. That the wide receivers specifically were as weak as any position group on the roster. Could you make that argument?
Yeah, you could, because you had the guys that you were relying on. They end up getting hurt, or it didn't work out. They had to end up trading. So then you had to. You were forced to play young guys. You were forced to play Alec. You were forced to play DK. And then you look
Lockett
at,
was a zero.
Lockett was a zero.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Calvin Ridley was hurt. So they just didn't get what they expected to get at the beginning of the year when they put that receiving core together. They thought they were going to get some better play. But then those guys were not available. Those guys didn't do well, so then they trade them away. And then now you're expecting these young guys to come in here and take up all the slack, not just some or a little. They were taking up all the slack. Alec, DK, and Gunnar Helm played a lot of snaps together. And I don't think that's what the Titans envisioned for last year. So you look at this year, and you just can't help but look at this receiving core and think, like, listen, compared to the other receiving cores within the AFC South, I'm not saying this group is better right now, but what I am saying is they have the potential to push those other 3 units and maybe even, overtake them during the season or going into next season.
615-737-1025. My question is the net gain going to be so much? I'm not even saying it has to be the best in the division or anything like that, but is it going to be so big just going from where it was to where it is now with Dable? Do you buy into that? Could be a big jump. It can turn a big weakness, one of the biggest weaknesses on the team, to a relative strength. Let me know what you think. 615-737-1025. Let's hear from Steve Smith. This is his general comment about the wide receiver room of the Titans.
Off the bat, I love this room.
Ooh, I like that.
I really love this room as the youngest group. I don't think they're the best group, but I think they can be, or chomping at the bit to they're nipping at the heels of the Houston Texans.
Okay.
Right. And here's why. It's actually not, it has nothing to do with the players, right? The players are part of it. And, Wan'Dale Robinson, boom. Look, this is me. I think it's an elite addition. The fact
Let's get into it.
that they utilize a nickel guy, a guy who's friendly, who understands. He's played with a lot of good quarterback play, and he's played with some dog doo-doo quarterback play, a la Russell Wilson. That's why his ass is doing TV now, because him and quarterback, it don't meet anymore. It just ain't there. Okay. So you got that.
I was thinking when he was saying that before, I did pay attention to the wisecrack on Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I don't know what
when
he's
I
got
heard
against-
that, I'm like, what
I was
did
like,
he have against Russell Wilson when I first heard
when
it?
did he cross paths with
Yeah.
Russell Wilson? But anyway, I was like, is he talking about the Tennessee Titans?
Mhm.
I love this room. Maybe not the best, but could potentially be. I'm not seeing that, but I do think if it goes reasonably well, you could have quite a bit of an upgrade. And boy, would that be a welcome sight with how much they've struggled here. And so we're going to get into some specifics in our next segment. But did it surprise you how much he was glowing about that room?
If I was a, someone in another state and didn't follow the Titans, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
But because we're here and we watch this team and we watch, what they've been doing, I don't think this is sort of outlandish for him to say. I think this team or this group, and obviously it all depends on what happens in the season, but you're telling me they took the fourth best player. They took the fourth. They consider Cardell Tate to be the fourth best player in the National Football League. So they draft him. That's high. So you got to almost think, okay, you got to believe he can do it.
They really
Yes,
believe that
they
Tate
believe
will
that he
be
can
able
do it.
to be
Absolutely.
immediate impact.
Absolutely. Then you bring in Wan'Dale Robinson, who has come off of a 1,000-yard season in this system. Then you look at Calvin Ridley. When healthy, he is a good receiver. He's not a number one, but he's the number two. And then you look at the guys behind them and what they were able to do last year. You can't help but be optimistic about the potential of this receiving core. This may end up, if things play out the way I believe it will or should, this may be the best receiving core this franchise has had in a very, very long time.
Okay, we're going to get into the why Steve Smith believes that. We're going to play you a couple of notes, but it's July 31st. Hope is everywhere around the league. Nobody's lost the game yet. So Derek is optimistic. Steve Smith glowing. What about you? Do you feel like out there, do you buy into this, that there will be a big jump in the wide receiver position production-wise this year? 615-737-1025. Jump in on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can call or text. Lines are open, 615-737-1025. Stay tuned. We've got more coming on this Friday afternoon here on DVD.
Brian Daboll, people have forgotten Brian Daboll does a really good job with quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian Daboll and Cam Ward together, people say rebuilding. I think Brian Daboll really saves Robert Saleh's coaching, where Saleh can just focus on the defense. And Daboll focuses on offense and a little bit, because Saleh loves competition. So does Daboll. So you're going to have these guys going at it. My offense, your defense can't hold. And so you got all of that inner squad, inner competition going. But
a couple of New York head coaches fired.
Yes,
going at it.
Exactly. I'm super excited, but I'm scared that it does impact some of the young, developed wide receivers that they have on the squad.
What you got, Willie?
Okay. Bruno Mars. The year of this song being number one is 2015. 2014.
Yes, it was 2014. Close. But close don't work only in horseshoes and hand grenades. So there you go.
Doggone it. All right. At least
You're close, Willie. You're in the ballpark.
I was in the ballpark.
You were in the building, Willie.
It's the anthem of my childhood right there. That was big when I was a kid.
That was a big, big song. That's the theme today. You got to get the year of these mega hits that were number one songs. All right. You heard from Steve Smith there on his podcast, and they really went into a lot of detail. You heard the glowing. He was talking about Brian Daboll. He really thinks a big jump for Cam Ward. He's a big fan of Daboll. We're asking you, the listeners, are you buying into this? Do you think there actually could be a big upgrade in the wide receiver position? What's the ceiling? Or are you skeptical? I wouldn't go as far. I was blown away, really, by what Steve Smith said. 30 minutes, and he goes into a lot of detail. He's got his reasons why. 615-737-1025. We've got some people on both ends of the spectrum here on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. One person says, is Derek okay? Ridley coming off injury, being a deep threat. He's very skeptical. He thinks DK will be better in that role. But we've watched Ridley run, and Steve Smith, he was right in lockstep with you in saying that in Daboll's system, and because they have Wan'Dale Robinson and because they have Tate, Ridley will be free to do what he does best. And that is just, he did not think Ridley was a great route runner, but in this offense, if he can just, he called it just run, go deep, stretch the defense, and do what he does best, that would be the best role for him. You seem to agree with that.
I agree with the deep threat part. I think Ridley is a really good route runner. I thought he was better in his early years, but he's since had injuries, and that may be a part of it. But I think Ridley can run routes with the best of them. So I think he still has that. But I do believe, and I do agree with Steve, that he has to be their deep threat. And I know one of the texters says coming off of an injury, he still has the speed. Now you wonder again, can he stay healthy? I think that's going to be the biggest thing with Ridley, is if he can stay healthy, because he hadn't been able to completely stay healthy with the Titans. But again, when you allow him to do just a few things and maximize those few things, I think you're going to get the best version of Ridley. And he may show up, and he still may show up as a 1,000-yard receiver, but not in a way that you were looking at him as a number one receiver. He's going to be really key for Tate for this reason, because people are going to test Tate. They are. And he's going to have to prove that he can get over the top of people, and he got to prove that he can be physical in this league. He proved it a little bit in college, but he didn't have to face much press coverage. But if Calvin Ridley is on the other side while they're paying attention to Carnell Tate, if Calvin Ridley is consistently beating people down the field, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to start taking those safeties and they're going to start putting them more so over to, especially at certain times of the game, more so over toward Ridley instead of Carnell Tate. Because that deep, there's a reason why coaches love having deep threats, because it opens up everything for everybody else. Every great receiver isn't a deep threat, but if you had a guy that can stretch the field on the other side, why do you think, Irvin and Harper worked so well? Harper was that deep threat guy. Irvin did everything else. So they worked off one another. You look at Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Both of them go no deep, but T is really the guy that they want to push vertical a lot. And they let Chase do all the ugly stuff in the middle, and we're going to send you deep, but he's more of a catch and run guy. So with those two guys, I believe that, if Tate comes out and proves that he can play in this league, it's going to open up things for Ridley, and then that will open up things for everybody.
Peagram's Finest texts in and says, could we say we have a top 10 receiver room? Maybe top 7? Yes. I know what I'm saying too. No, I'm not drinking. Okay. A lot of optimism. It's July 31st.
I like
I'm
it,
not
though.
there yet. 615-737-1025. We want you to weigh in. Could a major weakness turn into a strength in 1 year? And part of it is like, okay, I hope it's better because you used the 4th pick in the draft on a receiver, and you spent a lot of money on Wan'Dale Robinson, who you labeled as a specialist. So it's an expensive specialist, but it's coming from so low that you would hope that there's a big jump. But how big? Steve Smith is really high on these guys. And one note on Dable as to why he believes so much is the terminology. He feels like it's a player-friendly offense for a number of reasons, but one of them is there's not a lot of jargon. Okay. And so a young player can translate, can understand it quicker. And I noticed this, in the first 2 days of practice. Carnell Tate is taking basically every rep with the starters. It's not like, hey, let's work him in. He doesn't know these plays yet. Like, he's in there.
No, he got to go.
It says something about his ability to learn, but also that Daboll feels comfortable that he knows enough right now.
I think there was a quote out there that said, Carnell Tate is one of the smartest receivers he's coached. I think that may have came from Daboll. Yeah, rookie receivers that he's coached. And that means a lot because, listen, some guys are able to come in and absorb things quick, fast, in a hurry. Some guys, it take a little bit longer, which means, the development takes a little bit longer because a lot of this is not necessarily the physical development. Yeah, you got to have that, but it's the mental development, knowing the routes, knowing what you do when defenses, shift one way or another. What do you do when they blitz off of this edge? So you got to know all these things. So it's not so much of your physical, it's more of your mental. But if you can come in as a rookie and learn that stuff right away with the physical tools that a Carnell Tate has, I mean, I see why Daboll said what he said.
Let's hear specifics on Steve Smith talking about Carnell Tate in particular. This is what he had to say about the rookie.
Carnell Tate, taken 4th overall, is going to be, in my opinion, already the focal point. I talked to some people there, and this, to me, was the best thing I got out of the prep for this episode. Brian Daboll believes this is the smartest rookie he's ever been around. That stands out a lot, especially when you're going to lean on Carnell Tate the way they're going to have to lean on Carnell Tate.
What he does already, you got to remember, let me make sure I get this right. 0 holding calls, more than 600 blocking snaps. He's going to get his face mask dirty. He knows that his involvement in the offense is not just on the receiving. He has to be a all-around wide receiver. He's a young, veteran-minded rookie wide receiver.
I like that.
So mature beyond his years is what the label is, what the word is. He's only had 2 practices, but they're getting their insight through what they saw from the day that he's been drafted. I don't know if we can really tell so far, and it is super early, but I do think you're picking up a vibe of there's not that worry, right? I think the first couple days, for example, of Traylon Burks,
Yes.
there were all these
Even going back to Corey Davis, there was some.
yeah, like he's hurt, or I'm not sure he's picking it up, or hey, he's got issues. There seems to be quite a calmness about calm confidence about Carnell Tate in comparison. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so, because the prior first round picks, wide receivers, they both came in with this big question mark. For Davis, is he didn't run.
Right.
And he didn't run a 40, so then nobody in his foot because of his foot. Now, can he hold up? Will he be fast enough? Can he be a number one, not knowing how fast he is? And then you look at Traylon Burks. It was, the biggest thing was you have to replace A.J. Brown.
Oh,
Can you
so
beat
much
A.J.
pressure.
Brown?
Yeah.
And then you come in and automatically things just go
Had trouble
wrong
getting
for
on
you.
the field.
Exactly.
All of these
It
things,
just
one after another.
Before you even got on the field, it started to go left.
But do you notice the technically sound parts of Tate's game? Do you feel like he's got a pretty good understanding? That's a big tag to throw out there. Smartest rookie he's ever seen, Daboll. I mean, that's pretty high praise. He's been around for a long time, Daboll has. But are you seeing some of that he seems to be picking up things pretty well?
From the past 2 days, well, it's been 3, but 2 days we were out there, it didn't seem like they had. Now, they have to work on the combination between the two. They got to work on that rapport out there on the field. But I don't think there was anything out there where there were blown routes. Now, there may be, hey, I'm looking at it from this standpoint. You should have came in a little bit over, but you still ran the right route. But as you start to play more and more defenses you see, you will be able to adjust yourself and know what I'm thinking, and you know where to go because you know where I'm throwing the ball. But as far as like busted plays or anything like that, no, it seemed like they all have been, but Tate in particular, he's been the guy that, like you said, Willie, he's been out there with the ones at every turn. He seems like he knows what's going on. It seems like he's been where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. So you just hope that continues as they continue to pile more and more on him as far as playbook. And I start really looking at guys after that first week, like full week, because after that first full weekend, you throw on pads. Now your body's tired. Now you're thinking about something other than the plays, because now you're in play 35. It's hot outside and you're sore because you didn't get enough. You didn't get enough rest or whatever the case may be, but you're sore. How do you make sure you stay mentally focused when that happens? So that's typically what separates. That's the separator to me.
On our text line, Chuck sums it up with this. When it comes to the Titans receivers, I believe the angle of the dangle times the heat of the meat will definitely equal the mass of the pass. With that said, if Cam and these receivers get on the same page, I think they could definitely be one of the best in the league. And DMase, maybe not this year, but soon. Another optimist.
Yeah. I mean, again, see
I'm
why they're
tempering
optimistic.
expectations, but in comparison to last year is the key. If it can be easier for Cam Ward to take the step because of those guys, that would be very important in the progression.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the good part for Tate, really, Wandale in a sense too, because those other guys are used to Ward. They've caught passes from Ward in games. But the good part about it for Tate and Wandale is he's in his second year. There are a lot of things that he knows now. He knows how fast the game flows. He understands spatial, or he's understanding it even more of leverage and where defenses are at. So that's good for a rookie quarterback, a rookie receiver, because he's not coming in with a rookie quarterback. That's good for a 5th, 6th-year guy because now he's not playing with a rookie quarterback.
When we come back, we're going to switch gears. We'll talk a little college football with Mitch Light. But that was our Titans segment today, and we were talking about the wide receiver situation. Could it go from a weakness to a strength? And thanks to all of you that have weighed in on that. When we come back, Mitch Light joins us from The Athletic, and we'll set the table for some really good debate on the Big Ten versus the SEC, because it's
Spicy.
Spicy. We're coming back after this on 102.5 The Game. All right, let's talk twice daily. Remember, it's Friday, and you're running around, and it's only going to get more chaotic when the kids get back to school, and we're going to have those Friday night high school games, and your kids are off doing this and that, and sometimes you get a little caught up. But that's why Twice Daily and their rewards program is so valuable to you out there, and they want you to know that if you are loyal to them and you keep going back, you're going to benefit because their rewards program is going to save you money. It's outstanding, the work that they do. And if you're running around, you need a quick pizza, you need those little quick fixes to get things going for your family when it's been a scramble, they've got you covered. Keep going back there. The rewards program is outstanding for Twice Daily. So keep that in the back of your mind as you move forward, especially when the school year gets started. Take advantage of all of the great things that Twice Daily has going. Stop in, get rewarded. It pays to be a member with Twice Daily. You get those points, you get special discounts, you get savings, and it all adds up. It's Twice Daily, fresh all day. Back here on DVD, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Connor Newt behind the glass. He's got his lighter on, which is going to set off the fire alarm because
This is a great one.
It's a slow jam. We're going through number one hits. Now, we're about to talk to Mitch Light from The Athletic, and I feel like Mitch and I were post-college when this came out, but because of that, Mitch, it's harder to pinpoint the exact year. We have to get the year that this song was number one. So are we still in the 90s here?
Yes, yeah. I will give you that. You're in the 90s.
Okay. So what do we think, Mitch?
I don't know. I am not good with years in music. It all kind of blends together. So, I mean, by Derek,
I'm definitely in the blend.
If he says we're still in the 90s, I'll go 98.
I think you're in the ballpark. I think it's either 98 or 99 when we get there. I think I'm going to go with Mitch, 98. Oh, man.
Oh.
This song debuted on the Billboard #1 in 1994. I swear.
94.
By All For One. 94.
You're unless you're just trying to steer us the wrong way. That was very poor job on you. Still in the 90s.
Still in the 90s.
It is in the 90s.
It was in the 90s.
I should have been more specific and said early 90s.
I could even gotten away with mid.
Yeah,
man.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
All right. Better luck next time, Mitch. It's not the first one I've missed this afternoon.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sorry I failed.
Well, let's talk a little college football here. We're going to get into the fun debate because Curt Cignetti stoked the flames earlier this week. And it's funny because last week I was just having a debate away from the radio, just the old-fashioned sitting around watching TV and having this debate with some family members about Big Ten, SEC. And in this new era, of course, the Big Ten's hot. So let's start with Cignetti. And what does he have for an encore? We know Fernando Mendoza is not back. He's got a new quarterback, but I still hear a lot of people believing that Indiana, because of him and his ability to identify what works for him, that they'll be in the mix again. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely in the mix. They don't have their roster isn't as it might be more talented overall from like 1 through 70, but they lost a lot of top end players. I mean, they lost a lot of draft picks. Obviously, they lost the #1 pick in the draft. And the quarterback is really going to be interesting to watch. Josh Hoover is very good, threw for a lot of yards at TCU, but also had a lot of turnovers, lost fumbles and interceptions. Now, some people, we did that quarterback tiers thing. I don't know if you saw where, our guys talked to personnel people around the country, everyone to rank all the quarterbacks. And some people our guys talked to said, yeah, he did, but Cignetti's style of offense, they're not going to take as many chances as they do, like in the Sonny Dyke system at TCU. So they think he can rein that in a little bit because, they were good offensively 2 years ago when they had Rourke from Ohio. So it wasn't just Fernando Mendoza. So I think they're going to be really good. And it's hard to bet against Cignetti because they've been so good the last 2 years. But what you can't do is just say, oh, this team's going to be good because it's like Curt Cignetti. Like it's, you also have to look at the roster overall strengths and weaknesses. But, are they as good as Ohio State? On paper, no. Are they as good as Oregon? No. But they're probably leading that next tier with Michigan and some teams like that in the Big Ten.
What are your thoughts on Cignetti, the personality? Because now he has been thrust into a new light in terms of he's a character. He says really interesting things. He's so quirky. People take to all those mannerisms and things. What do you think that's going to be like now that they're on the radar? They're not the underdog anymore, but college football kind of needs personalities like that, and he's kind of risen to that level.
Totally. And, you can't say it's just because he wins because he did it before he started winning in Indiana. Now he wanted James Madison. He wanted Elon. He's been confident in his own abilities. My attitude on stuff like that is if you win, you can back it up. And the Big Ten's winning, so the Big Ten can talk. Curt Cignetti's winning big. He can back it up. And I agree with you. It's good for the sport of college football. We've talked about in college basketball with so many of the older, some more entertaining coaches leaving. College sports needs guys like him. And it's great for SEC fans to, for a while it was Urban Meyer and then it was Jim Harbaugh, like who's the kind of the target of the angst of the SEC. Now it's Curt Cignetti. No one was thinking about Indiana football 2 or 3 years ago. Now I guarantee you there's a lot of people in the Deep South who can't wait for Indiana to lose its first game this year, and I think that's good for college football.
Now, Mitch, because there is a footprint here when you're talking Big Ten football, because you have a bunch of Northerners that are coming south to work and to live, and so that footprint does expand to Michigan State. And they hired Jonathan Smith years ago, thought it was going to work coming out of, what was it, Oregon State, somewhere around there, and it just didn't work out. Then they bring in Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald been out of the game. He was an excellent coach. He turned that program at Northwestern around. But how do you think he's going to do it here at Michigan State?
Very polarizing if you talk to people. Clearly a good football coach who did a great job of sustaining success at Northwestern. But he did not end great. Like 2 of his last 4 years, I think they went 1-8 in the league. Now he had one good year and one good COVID year, but his last year they went 1-8. And the way he is like Mr. Old School coach and old tough Big Ten linebacker, my concern would be his ability to adapt to the current landscape, the transfer portal, NIL, all that stuff. Now clearly Michigan State, it's a big school. They've got money. They're paying players. They're accepting transfers. You have to. But, Curt Cignetti comes in and totally embraces that in Indiana, flips the roster. So I think it's a solid hire with the potential to be really good, but I don't think it's a slam dunk. I don't think you can just sit here and say, oh, he won at Northwestern, he's going to win at Michigan State. If they made this hire 10 years ago, I think you say that because the game has changed so much. So I think, like, sort of low key, they're one of the more interesting teams in the country this year to see how he adapts.
Now let's talk about the team right here in our backyard, the Vanderbilt Commodores and Coach Lee. Now we know what they have done over the last 2 seasons, and they are optimistic moving in to this season with potentially a freshman quarterback. How much different is this team going to be from years prior? Understanding that I know Diego made it a lot different. I get that part, but how much different overall will you think this team be?
Yeah, I mean that's the storyline. We can't forget they led the nation in yards per play, which to me is the most important statistic. And you could say how much of that was Diego Pavia, how much is that Tim Beck's offense, Eli Stowers, or how much of it was the entire team, the entire offense, the offensive line. So it's natural to think the offense is going to take a couple steps back early in the season too, whether it's Berlowitz or Curtis at quarterback, and no doubt they will tailor their offense to meet to fit the skill set. I just look at how many times Diego Pavia made huge plays on 3rd down, hit the guy. He just knew the offense so well and knew where to go every time, move the chains. So I think Vanderbilt fans kind of took that for granted last year. But from a big picture, I think the overall talent keeps rising every year. I think that's why they're optimistic over there. I think you have to look at the offensive line that's been rebuilt again. Now there's 2 starters back, where I think last year there's only 1 starter. Again, they feel the talent is good there, but it's always dangerous to make assumptions about chemistry on the offensive line. So that's going to be an area to watch. I think defensively they're better. I think there's no doubt they're better, especially in the front 7. I think they've got good quality depth there. So I don't want to say every team is fascinating, but you mentioned Michigan State. I think Vanderbilt, even nationally, is fascinating because people are eager to see if this was like a 2-hit wonder of Diego Pavia or if they've been able to build something that they can sustain.
Mitch Light is with us, college football editor at The Athletic, one of a great team of writers over there that give you great coverage. Mitch, speaking of young quarterbacks, we know eventually we're going to see Jared Curtis in some form. Tennessee's got sort of the same situation brewing. It seems like a couple of guys to choose from. What are you hearing about their camp?
Yeah, I think most people think it's going to be Brandon, Faison Brandon, the freshman from North Carolina, Greensboro, who was the number 3 quarterback nationally in the 247 Sports Composite, where Curtis was number 2. George McIntyre, kid from Brentwood Academy, is the sort of not the incumbent. He didn't play a lot. He's the guy who's been in the system for a year. So that's going to be another thing. I wonder the last time both teams in the state had true freshman quarterbacks. It's probably never happened. So that's going to be interesting. So I think a lot of people, they lost a lot on defense, lost a lot on the front seven. So that's going to be an area to watch there. I think the general consensus on Tennessee nationally and the SEC is the overall roster is probably a little bit better than last year. And if they can get good, competent quarterback play, they should be in pretty good position there. But I agree that's kind of, there's not many teams nationally that have a quarterback battle. I guess you could say there's one here in Nashville, but, we all think Curtis will eventually take over. Alabama has one, but I think right now Tennessee has one as well.
Mitch, the thing that keeps coming up, and Kirk Cignetti, he threw a little jab at the SEC at the media days here earlier this week, but there's a pretty intense debate. And so let's take it from the SEC's standpoint right now. They didn't have the juggernaut at the top, and that's a fair criticism. And the Big Ten has. But I do think what would concern me going forward, if I'm in that SEC, is year in and year out, when you have the depth where teams 13, 14, 15, 16 may not be great teams, but on a given Saturday, especially if they're playing at home, they're bringing a lot to the table. They're capable of knocking off just about anybody. I would say that. Do you think this is going to be a problem that visits them year in and year out and keeps them from winning the national titles that they covet?
I don't think that's so your point is that because the league might have more overall depth, that it hurts the teams at the top?
Yeah, that they beat each other up and they don't give themselves as good a chance to make a playoff run.
I don't think that's a problem. I don't subscribe to that theory. I just think the last few years, the top teams in the Big Ten were better than the top teams in the SEC. It didn't hurt Alabama. I realize there was no playoff. No 12-team playoff. Didn't hurt Alabama when it was dominating. It didn't hurt Georgia when it won backto-back national championships. They just happen to have the best teams in the country that year, where in the last few years the Big Ten does. I do agree with the theory that the SEC is probably a little bit deeper, that the middle class and the lower class of the SEC are probably better, but the Big Ten's been better. I think what kind of amuses Big Ten fans is sort of how the argument of the goalposts are moving. Like, I think it's a rational argument to say a league is better if it wins the national championship and it has like two elite teams. It's also a rational argument to say another league's better if it's deeper, if the bottom is better. Those are fine. But, for years, the SEC fans would say, different national championship, Florida was winning, then LSU was winning, then Alabama was winning, then Georgia was winning. Best league, best team. Now SEC fans are turning to, this league's deeper. The Big Ten might have better teams at the top, but this league's deeper. So I think that's the discourse that you see on social media. I think that's what Big Ten fans have been saying in the past week, countering all the arguments from the SEC fans.
Oh, and it's made for some really spicy debate, which we're going to get into next hour. But I would further that point because I am in that corner. I look at, even though the Big Ten probably has the money, right? They have just as many financial resources as the SEC. The whole it means more. I look at programs like Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue, even UCLA at this point, and even I would stretch it to teams that have been solid over the years like Minnesota, but usually not great. And I do think the road for a top team in the Big Ten, especially because there's so many teams, the road is easier to the playoffs in that league than it is to the SEC, who, like we said, even if a team isn't having a great year, like Auburn last year, they put so much into the program, people care so much, and they have some high-end talent. Those teams, to me, are way more dangerous than a Rutgers.
Yeah, I mean, that there's no doubt that Auburn was a better football team than Rutgers last year, even though Auburn went 1-7. They lost a lot of close games. And, the problem with college football is there's not enough games. There's not enough interconference games or intra-conference games to solve these arguments. Not that you can really solve them. Like college basketball, at least you got more teams playing each other from the ACC and the SEC. So I tend to agree with you, but there's nothing that says that Minnesota is better than Kentucky or Kentucky's better than Minnesota because, there's just not enough games between the two conferences. So it's all fun debate. But I kind of lost my train of thought there. But I think one thing about the Big Ten being so top heavy this year and in recent years is your argument about your point about the road to the playoff. It depends so much on who you play.
Yes.
Indiana was great last year, but they had a soft schedule. their schedule's more difficult this year. Penn State is a team that's not great on paper, but they've got a very soft schedule because when your league is that big and you just happen to miss the top teams, like that, their road to a playoff appearance is not very difficult. So that's the problem with these huge conferences, and the Big Ten just happens to be even bigger than the SEC.
We'll sort all this out from week to week, just setting the table on some good college football here on the last day of July. Mitch, thanks for the time. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again here soon.
All right, take care, guys. See ya.
All right, Mitch Light, the Athletic. He was not the SEC snob that I thought he would be, being a guy that I was in the same class as him at Vanderbilt. Come on.
Exactly. Your snobbiness.
He gave you material.
Your snobbiness still came out over there,
Okay.
Willie.
We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this next hour. I want to know: are SEC snobs like me, or champions, the people that chant SEC, even if their team's not in the winning the championship, they're still chanting SEC? If you're that guy, are you coming around to the argument that the Big Ten is better right now, or do you still, like me, say I still think the SEC is the tougher league? Maybe I'm wrong. But let me know what you think. 615-737-1025. And we're going to hear what Kurt Signetti had, because he cracked us up yesterday when we heard that sound bite. We're going to play it for you next hour. Final hour of the show of the week here on DVD, coming up next here on 1025 The Game. DVD coming down the home stretch here during our 5 o'clock hour. Then we hand the baton to Connor Newt, who is poised behind the glass to take over at the 6.
Not today.
But not today. Were they giving you Fridays off? What the heck?
No. Today,
Because you've already hit too many hours earlier. Is that what happened? You had to do the morning show. You had to go to. What happened?
It's not my choice today.
What do you got?
Chase is going to sit down with a couple of political candidates, Marsha Blackburn and John Rose.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Well, that's coming up at 6 o'clock. That should be interesting. Okay.
So I've been overruled by the U.S. government.
There you go.
It happens. It happens sometimes,
Hey, there's always the bigger fish.
But you can use the rest.
But I'll be on tomorrow.
Right. So this will be the final hour of the week here on DVD. Coming up, we've got Ask DMase, and we're going to give you a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to see the Nashville Cats as they take on the Michigan Arsenal Sunday at F&M Bank Arena in Clarksville, the Arena Football Semifinals. Cats win, they go to the championship game. So that's going to be a fun game. 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon in Clarksville at F&M Bank Arena. Best question for DMase at 5:20 gets the prize. But right now we're getting the text, and this is going to whet your appetite here. The debate, because we're just getting started. Final show in July. But the Big Ten has won the last 3 national championship games. We started asking this last year around this time of, hey, if they win again, is the SEC really the best football conference anymore? The Big Ten has a lot of bragging rights now, with Indiana now joining the mix. So Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, winners of the last 3. SEC is falling back. Snobs like me saying it's still the best, but they're beating each other up. The parity, the resources up and down the league is making it tougher to win a national championship. That's my take. But let's listen to Curt Cignetti and what he had to say about Indiana and the Big Ten being the best conference.
And a lot of really good football teams. It's hard to win on the road. Very physical football teams, very well coached. It definitely prepares you for the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. The numbers speak for themselves. I mean, we don't run a hype machine up here in the Midwest. We believe everything's earned, not given. And when we fall short, we say we fell short. We don't cry a river, whine, and complain. All right? And that's why we're the best.
For a moment, he sounded like Suge Knight up there. But it does harken back to, and listen, who does he really sound like? Nick Saban. He sounds like what Nick Saban sound like in the past. But when
and then
talk
maybe
about,
before that, when the bravado of Steve Spurrier, maybe a couple decades before that, when the SEC had all of the bragging rights and they could do that. I like it. I love the healthy interaction, the jabs back and forth. Thank goodness for Curt Cignetti. He has done wonders.
Only thing that was missing was
football. From Coach Saban. Yeah, exactly. You got to mix in a couple of those. But Cignetti is a quote machine, and that is awesome. He goes, hey, we're the national champs in 2025, 27-2 the last 2 years. Remember way back when nobody had heard of him, he said, Google me. You'll see that I've won a lot. But he said, longest home winning streak in college football, longest winning streak in college football. You guys write the stories. I know Michigan's been around a long time, so is Ohio State, Southern Cal, Penn State, and there's others. But that had to do more with sustaining the success in the Big Ten. But here is the crux of the argument, and this is what I want to hear from some of you, the listeners. 615-737-1025, our phone and text line driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. The argument for the SEC is, look, the top teams have not had their best years the last couple of years. But part of the reason is the week in, week out challenges. And now they're going to play 9 conference games and not 8. So I think it might even rear itself even more with the new format, because you still have to play one of your non-conference games against a Power 4 conference. Vanderbilt, for example, plays NC State. Tennessee plays Georgia Tech. It's a tough road. And I think the lower teams in the league are tougher outs in the SEC than the Big Ten. No matter how your schedule shakes out, because there's so many teams in these leagues and you only play 9 conference games, you're going to have years where your schedule is tougher or easier, but it's much easier to have the lighter schedule in the Big Ten because of some of the teams I mentioned. They just haven't been very good in a while. UCLA, Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue, just to name a couple. The bottom 5 or 6 in an 18-team league are not as good as the bottom 5 or 6 in the SEC. Now, let's get to a couple texts. People have already taken issue with me. Robert in Nashville says, our last place teams are better than your last place teams. It's a lame SEC fan perspective. Your team needs to quit whining and put in the work. Try being humble in both wins and losses instead of showboat in your victories and crying over your losses. I don't know if Robert is like related to Kurt Cignetti or that was like a burner for Kurt Cignetti. But okay, but that's the, the Big Ten has been taking the punishment for a long time, and now they're punching back.
The conversation was never about, when it came to the SEC, it was never about, oh, our bottom teams are better than your bottom teams. It was never about that. It was always about championships, right or wrong. It was about championships. Now, all of a sudden, y'all want to make it about bottom teams? Like, really? Practice?
But it's
it's
still part of it.
Really?
Part of
bottom teams?
Yes.
When that was not ever the argument by the SEC. When y'all were winning championships.
Because this is a new era. With the playoffs, you got to win all these games. It's not, you don't just get to the Final
the Big Ten
Four.
got to win those same games.
It's an easier road.
Not when you get in the playoffs.
Yes, but I think it's easier to get a higher seed when you've had an easier road, because I still don't think the SEC has gotten credit for the strength of schedule. But that's another thing that I think has to be worked out over the coming years.
Texas had an opportunity to do something about it. And they didn't, right? At the beginning of the season. They lost. Yeah. Okay. So
they lost to Ohio State.
Yeah. So at the end of the season, you had opportunities where your conference could have represented you in the number 1 slot. But when you had that opportunity, I know Texas, they started off slow. They end up, picking up steam toward the end of the year and finishing out really well. But had you won against Ohio State, maybe I would have had a number 1 seed in the college football playoffs.
All right. This is an SEC snob texting here. He did not leave his name. So let's just call him snob number 2 because he is backing me up here. This might be a slight exaggeration here. By the way, you can join in by calling or texting 615-737-1025. The Big Ten has 14 cupcake teams in their league. No wonder their teams are able to make it to the playoffs and do so well. 14 might be a little exaggeration, but he's backing me up on this. He goes, look at it this way. No one wants to watch any game that Ohio State plays all year until they get to the playoffs because it's an easy road. Now, Ohio State has always been the one, and Kurt Cignetti called them Goliath, and they're going to be really good again this year. They've got Jeremiah Smith. They've got their quarterback back. Sand. What's Sand's first name? I forget. Julian Sand. Yeah, so, I mean, they're starting off. I mean, they reload as well as anybody. They've got the big payroll, all of that. But, and by the way, Ohio State announced that they are going to put a sponsor on their jerseys. And guess how much they're getting from that sponsorship to put a patch on their jersey?
About $1 million, $2 million.
$17 million.
Woo!
$17 million.
Man.
To put, so as if they were having trouble paying their players before. So now they just a little 17 mil check to put a little logo on there on the jersey. Wow. 615-737-1025. Agreed 100% that Cignetti sounds like Saban. And it's about being more competitive top to bottom and not being able to lose to an underdog and still make the playoffs. I still think that is something that's being adjusted. Remember how hot I got about Vanderbilt in that picture, right? Trying to argue of the week in, week out toughness of the schedule. And again, this might be just my SEC perspective inflating the value of a win, say at Tennessee, that Vanderbilt got. Remember, there was that whole thing of, well, Vanderbilt doesn't have a quality win. But winning at Tennessee, that knocked Tennessee's record down to 8-4, I believe. Tennessee is not your ordinary 8-4 team, especially winning in Knoxville. So I still think that the committee has trouble calibrating strength of schedule. And I think there's something about an atmosphere. The atmosphere at winning at Tennessee or even in Starkville at Mississippi State is not the same as winning at Maryland.
But again,
or at Purdue.
I get it. But once you get in the playoffs,
is a different story. I have no comeback for the playoffs.
But my thing is, the committee, they would rather have an 8-5 SEC team than a 8-5 Big Ten team, or a 7-5 SEC team than a 7-5 Big Ten team. So whoever they choose to put into the playoffs, once you're in the playoffs, now you got to play. But even if you look at, because again, this is what the SEC was arguing about, why we are the best conference. Not only are we winning championships, we're winning bowl games too. Look at what we're doing across the board. And I get it. Bowl games is a little bit different now. Some guys are taking off. I understand all that. But let's not forget about that now, because the Big Ten has totally dominated the SEC when it comes to actual bowl games too. But
and that wasn't the case for a long time.
Exactly, that wasn't the case. But now you don't want to make that a part of the argument. You would just want to say, oh, our top end, our bottom end is better than your bottom end. When we start arguing bottom ends, we got a problem.
I do think that it's becoming a tougher argument. It used to be that the Big Ten fans in this area used to have to just kind of just take it. Because there was a time you heard a lot of, the Big Ten in the bowl games, they've got to go down to Florida. They tend not to have the crowd advantage. There were a lot of justifications why they were struggling in a lot of those Big Ten SEC head-to-head bowl game matchups. But now as it's evolved, and like you said, it's not nearly as much about how do your teams do in the bowl games.
Mm-hmm.
It's what are your teams doing in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And since the playoff has come in, there's no question that the Big Ten has flourished in this system. And I'm wondering how much of it is the journey. It's a game of attrition now. It's depth. It's being able to win extra games. Mm-hmm. So getting to the finish line is huge. So what does the SEC do internally, each team, as they look and say, okay, what's the best way to win a championship in this era, and not just win the SEC and then you got to win 2 more games? Now it's, hey, do you want to be in the SEC championship game?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. If we're, maybe you have to win 1 less game by getting into the playoffs, but not making it. Mm-hmm. And how many teams are going to be in the playoff in the coming years? So it's a new era. Matt texts in and says, this is such an SEC homer station.
I'm the Big Ten guy.
I know. You're representing.
Yes.
He said, if Saban wouldn't have coached at Alabama, then what? Before Saban, not a lot of noise from the conference right now.
I mean, there were LSU was winning with Saban. Spurrier was winning. So, I mean, I will give it up. The SEC had a stranglehold on college football, when you're talking about championships for a bit there. But the tables have turned. And, now the Big Ten has a stranglehold on college football in terms of championships won. So
I'm curious too. A big piece to this for the Big Ten going forward is can USC ever get back to what they have been as a powerhouse? Oregon, we think, is there. Oregon, people think is going to be really good.
Yeah, they're still competing. They still win 10, 11, 12 games.
No doubt. They're really good. We think Indiana is going to be very good again. They'll have to prove it. Ohio State, you can mark down, and now Michigan has the quarterback that's had a year under his belt. They should be really good. So the top end of the Big Ten looks solid. But then what do those next teams look like? Like if USC gets back into the mix, and if UCLA could ever get going, they've been at the bottom at all kinds of times. But I still think the depth of the SEC is way better than the depth of the Big Ten. And on the other side of the coin, does the SEC have that championship level team this year? That remains to be seen. Here are some other texts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Let's not forget Illinois played Tennessee in Nashville, was practically a home game for Tennessee, and the Big Ten looked awfully good in that. I don't know.
But again, it's, when you have an opportunity to play against each other, what are you going to do?
I still don't think Illinois scares people. Like if you have to play at Illinois,
Mhm.
I'm not sure that's the same as having to play at the equivalent in the SEC.
Well, it depends on again. Are we
Illinois
playing in
most
December? Are we
years-
playing in November, late November?
Year in and year out. If you just blindly said, I'm playing, like, I'm going to spin a wheel, I got to go play at this. There's just not as many places that would intimidate you as there is in the SEC. The texter says, I got your back, nerd. I guess he's referring to me.
So
SEC. He says, like, he's got my back. What do the ratings say? I bet all Big Ten fans are watching SEC games over Big Ten games. There's an SEC snob approach.
I mean, if you're up north, you're watching majority Big Ten teams or ACC teams. Now, majority
He
of the
admits
people,
he's a troll, this guy that's
Oh,
texting.
okay, there we go.
But still.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, there's no way to, I guess there is a way, but I don't think there's any numbers to determine that. And if there is, Adam's not here to get them, so we're not going to worry about it right now.
Texter from Jolton says, my boys in the maize and blue will be bringing another natty home to Ann Arbor this year. Hail to the victors. What say you, Mr. Spartan?
Nah.
And Vogue had a song about this, remember?
Yeah, I'm not going to even subscribe to that one.
Okay. So you're not
you
just,
know
you're
me.
just going to leave
Yeah,
that there.
you know me.
Okay. Do you think Michigan State will be better this year? They had a bad year.
And that's why I
year.
asked Mitch that question. Now they're, Hall, one of their linebackers, he chose to stay. They got a recruit out of Auburn, a linebacker. I think he's a linebacker out of Auburn. So their linebacker crew may just be the the strength of their team. But how is Fitzgerald going to do having such a long layoff? How can he get this program back on the right track? Because over the last years, they have fallen off. I mean, they had a stint there where they were competing and winning games, but then this started to go downhill.
When we come back, we want to keep that text line going, that phone line going, because it'll be Ask DMase. We've got some good questions for him, and we've got an incentive for you. You can ask DMase anything. You want to ask him about the Titans, some of the wide receivers. If you want to ask him about life or movies or things like that, you could do that as well. But the best question, you can even ask him about the Big Ten and the SEC. We continue this discussion. But the best question for DMase is going to get 4 tickets to the Nashville Cats playoff game. It's the Final Four, if you will, Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock at F&M Bank Arena in Clarksville. So jump on in there, 615-737-1025. You can win by asking DMase a good question. Stay tuned. We're coming back with more of DVD. Back here on DVD, I'm focused as we get into some Ask DMase here. You can ask DMase some of his favorite selections from the jukebox here. He has selected these and tried to stump me on what year these number one hits topped the charts back in the day.
You know about Mariah Carey. Come on. I'm going to give you a clue. You want a clue?
Yeah, I do want a clue. Because this is
early 2000s.
I was going to say, because
Early
Mariah Carey would be early 90s, which I think is her best stuff.
Agreed.
I
Yes.
loved her stuff there. I mean, I can go deep in the library. Her first couple.
But we're talking about Billboard number one songs. That's it. Early 2000s.
What's the name of that song?
We Belong Together.
Okay. 2005.
There you go, Willie.
Yes.
There you go.
From half court, Willie Donick banks it in.
That was a Steph Curry three right
Yes.
there.
That was tough.
That was a Mike Bring bang, as he says.
Yes. Bang. All right, time for some Ask DMase. We've got a lot of things that we've hit on today that have been fun. Right up DMase's alley. We've talked about the Titans wide receivers as a unit. Steve Smith, very optimistic about Daboll and the new guys with Wan'Dale Robinson and Carnell Tate. He likes the chemistry. He thinks it's going to be a lot better. We've talked SEC, Big Ten. The heated rivalry now at the top with the Big Ten having won the last three. But you can ask DMase anything, and the best question is going to get 4 tickets to watch the Cats go for a berth in the AFL, the Arena Football League championship game on Sunday. 4 tickets for the best question. 615-737-1025. Gino says SEC wins championships, and when they did, they would make fun of the Big Ten and the Pac-12 for talking about the depth of conference in 9 games, and they beat everybody up. Now the SEC isn't winning championships. Now we're supposed to listen how deep the SEC is and crying about the 9-game conference schedule. You lose me on that noise. That's all it is.
Man, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I root for the SEC. You know, I'm here and I love Vandy and, you know, I like the Vols and Memphis is not an SEC team, but I like Memphis. But, you know, Coach Saban was my coach at Michigan State. So I'm still partial to Alabama. I like what Kirby Smart's doing at Georgia. So I like the SEC as a whole, but I'm a Big Ten guy.
Another Matt. We have a lot of Matts texting in on the text line today. As a representative of the Big Ten, I still would rather watch Vanderbilt versus Arkansas than Rutgers versus Purdue. See, that is still the lone argument that's out there that SEC fans like me are clinging to.
But again, it's not about what you would rather watch. It's about who you watching on championship, whatever day that is.
And it was
National
not
Championship
SEC
Day,
team.
whatever that day is.
Ole Miss went down.
So
Alabama
everybody is watching
blocked.
a Big Ten team.
Yeah, the SEC teams did not do so well. Andrew in Murfreesboro has an Ask DMase. What about Keldrick Falk and his performance so far amongst the rookies? What are you seeing? I feel like I have not heard much about him. I think that's a fair point. This guy was a first-round pick, but not hearing much about him.
And it's hard right now, I think, because there are no pads on. So I think you'll start to really, you know, again, see guys sort of show who they are or sort of come out of their shell. I'm sure Keldrick Falk is still learning the defense, and they're rotating those guys in so much, you know, to try to give them a feel of what's going on. So I'm sure eventually you'll start to hear about Falk. But I think like a lot of other rookies outside, the only rookie you're really hearing about is Carnell Tate. You know, you're not hearing about the other rookies. And rightfully so. He was the fifth pick in the draft. Fourth, excuse me. But I think Keldrick Falk, once they put on the pads, I think he'll start showing more of why they drafted him, you know, why they moved up in the first round to get him.
And I like that they're not putting him in a position right now with their depth at that position. It's scary to think they actually have a little bit of depth on the defensive line, that if he could just be a good, talented, rotational guy, that could be a good start for him, and maybe he grows from there. A lot of text for DMase here. Troy has this. Which jersey would you rather wear, DMase? A scarlet and gray jersey or a maize and blue jersey? without naming names of what teams we're talking about here.
I would rather have Michigan State jersey, okay? But of course I'm going to say Ohio State. I don't want to wear any. No.
How do you know he wasn't talking about Rutgers?
He wasn't talking about Rutgers, and I wouldn't wear that color either because it's too close to the other color. So no.
What about Ball State?
No, still wouldn't do it. Still wouldn't do it.
Have you ever had to wear a red uniform?
No, red in it. Yes, a little red, but never a full red.
But
well,
like
the Houston
red.
Texans, it was some red in there. So
red,
yeah. I think we did wear the red jerseys when I was there for that brief stint. People are probably like, "You with the Texans?"
Number 82.
Yes, there we go. See, Connor knows. Yeah, so no, I would never. I mean, I told my son because he's applying for med school and he applied to Michigan. I said, "Listen, man," and he got his secondary back, so he got sent off some more stuff. I said, I will be there for you. I will champion you as a father, and I will be there, but I will never wear those colors. Never. I will never wear a Michigan hat. Never. I will come support you. And, in turn, I got to support the university through financials. But outside of that, no, you ain't going to see me wearing those colors.
I have seen that with some friends of mine that went to Vanderbilt and for one reason or another are in Nashville. Either their families from Nashville before or they settled in Nashville post-college and their kids end up going to Tennessee. That's always a little dilemma. that can create some dilemma. Here's one on our text line, a little more on the serious note. My name is John, and John is going through a bit of a rough patch. He has a question for you, DMase. As a successful pro athlete, how did you bounce back from setbacks? It takes a lot of fortitude to handle losses. As an athlete, you might have a unique outlook. Go Titans. So how do you bounce back when things are tough?
First and foremost, it was prayer for me. And then, just understanding, because Chris Sanders told me this a long time ago, control what you can control, go into whatever situation you're in or coming out of it, go in it with an attitude of joy. And I know every situation isn't the same. And I know there can be some tough situations out there, but if you attack that day with joy and attack that day with a sense of, pride, and I'm going to do this. Like, I think more times than not, you will start to see, it may not happen right away, but I think you start chipping away at things. But because if you, and listen, there's always going to be a time where you need to sort of, pity yourself. There's a time where you just, okay, yeah, take that time out, but don't sit in it too long. Don't, because everybody has to have that grieving process. Grieve it, but try not to sit there too long, because if you sit there too long, you'll get used to that. So grieve when you can. And then as you're coming out that grieving, you got to make that next step a positive step, because I don't care what you've been through. If you don't go into the next day positive, you're not going to accomplish or come close to accomplishing what you want to accomplish.
Great stuff. 615-737-1025. This is Ask DMase. We're going to extend this into the final segment of the show. We got a lot of people with good Friday questions. Here's one. And it's funny that Justin texted this, because I had a good conversation. My cousin, she is an outstanding golfer, and she was playing in a pro tournament here at the Hermitage, and she did very well, by the way. And a couple of her friends were hanging out with us, and my son, Mahoney, we were talking about feelings that you have when you're warming up and you feel really good. You're like, I'm in the zone. I'm going to be awesome today. And how often in a warm-up, that is a precursor to how you play in the game and how much it maybe can tease you. Or the other way, you have a bad warm-up, and you're like, oh, man. But then you go out and everything's fine.
Yeah.
So Justin's question related was, DMase, was there ever a game you guys went into just knowing you were going to blow somebody out, and it didn't matter what happened around you, just knew you were going to win? How often did you have that feeling, and how often was it true?
I think there were games, now I can't, name like specific games, but I think there were games where, as a team, because you always want to walk in confident as a team, because you feel you prepared enough, you've done the right things, you're healthy for one. and that you're going to go out there and get the job done. But then you go out there and you still may get the job done, but it just may be a little bit more difficult than what you had planned. And typically that's how it goes, where you plan one thing, it's like, man, it's even worse, or man, this is a physical battle. But I mean, yeah, there have been games too where we've walked out there and you just feel the energy in the locker room. Then you feel it on the field. It's just, it's almost like the what you call it song. Why am I forgetting his song? I can feel it coming.
Phil
Phil
Collins.
Collins, yes. It's almost like, seriously, it's
I
almost
used to
like
listen to
that.
song
Like,
before every game.
exactly. It's like, and Ray Lewis would play that song. That was like, because a lot of times he had control of, the songs
In the locker room?
not necessarily in the locker room, but for warm up. Like we
Yeah,
would want to
yeah.
hit one of his songs, and that would always be the last song played by Phil Collins. And majority of the times you could just feel it. Like when he said you could feel it in the air, you feel it in the air. It's just like, especially when you're playing the Steelers or you're playing the Titans, it's just like you just feel that in the air. And when you feel it, it's like, oh man, it's gonna be a good day.
What about individually? Could you tell how you were going to play from a warm up, or were you not worried if you had a bad warm up or a good warm up?
And no, I was a creature of habit. So if one thing was sort of off, it was like, okay, how do I adjust myself? Because as a player, you don't always come out, 100%, and it may be because you're dealing with an injury, or whatnot, or it can be anything, because you try to block those things out. But again, you come on the field. There have been times again where I was like, man, I just don't feel right. Like I'm too tight. Like my pants don't feel right. Like I just don't feel right. Like, and then you just hope that it's a feeling and not actually what is going to happen on the field.
As a dad, I got to where I didn't want to watch my kids warm up because I didn't want to think, oh man, she's going to be awesome in goal today. She caught everything. Or, oh man, she missed a couple. This is going to be, I didn't want to know what
you
happened
didn't want to,
in the warm up because I didn't want that to influence me, because it's a really interesting question of, do you warm up? Does that have anything to do with what happens in the game, good or bad? All right, when we come back, we'll have another round of calls. We got a lined up for DMase. People love DMase, and they want to go see this Cats playoff game on Sunday afternoon. 615-737-125. Our final segment of the show on DVD is coming up. Yes. The Boys to Men. Now
You got to know this one,
I'm
Willie.
gonna be right in the neighborhood here.
Come
But
on,
again,
Willie.
It's a precise. I gotta be precise. These are all mega hits that we've been trying to answer for 3 hours. I've done pretty well.
Yes, you
not,
have.
Not lights out. There's some tough ones. We had 1 or 2 misses within a year, and this is going to be the key on this one. I know this is early 90s. The Boys to Men coming on the scene.
Come on, you Kyrie Irving with 30 seconds left with
But
with
it
the
wasn't
Clippers.
like-
I mean, with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes, that's right.
Come on.
But it wasn't. This wasn't their first song. It was one of them. But
Mhm.
like,
I think
This
East
is
Coast
one of
in
their
the late
biggest
80s.
ones. This is one of their
Uh,
biggest ones.
Motown Philly was like the one that had
Yes.
them burst on the scene. I feel like that was
Absolutely.
92. The question is, did this hit in 92 or 93? It's all like school years to me. Like I know I know exactly where I was. I was living off campus senior year at Vanderbilt, 92, 93. So it's one of those 2 years. I'm pretty confident.
You think,
I'm
Willie?
going to say that this hit number 1 in 93. What? 92?
91.
91?
Yes.
Come on.
What are you talking about? Come on, Willie. This was on the Billboard #1 in 1991, Willie. I'm telling you.
That is a terrible
Willie,
way to
as a
end the
matter
show.
of fact, I'm about to tell you exactly. This was Willie, you're right.
Wait, so you gave bad
92.
info?
It was I got fab. I gave
That
you
was
bad
me.
info.
Blame
Yeah.
him.
All right,
I
92.
just said
You're
what he
right,
wrote
Willie.
down.
I still got it wrong because I said 93.
You said 93,
Yeah.
but your second answer was right.
But this was at
92.
the top of the charts
Yes.
in 92?
92.
Okay, I feel a
Billboard,
little bit
yes.
better because that was the wrong year. I'm putting myself back in the wrong time
August
machine.
15th, 1992 was when it first arrived on the Billboard 100 as #1.
As number 1.
Yes, and it lasted through November 7th, 1992, which
It's a big
means
hit.
it was 13 weeks. It was #1. It was
Don't
a
get on
hit.
me. That was on DMase.
Okay.
You
I'm
were
sorry,
trying to
Willie. I'm
win.
sorry.
That's
You were
okay.
close. I got to give you that
I was
one. there.
close.
I'm gonna give you that
But
one.
I still was wrong.
I
Like
got to give you that one.
horseshoes. What's the horseshoes and hand
Hand
grenades?
grenades, yeah.
All right, let's get back to Ask DMase. We've got some great questions down the home stretch here for the Cats tickets here. We've had some really good ones so far. Let's see. Mo says, "Hey DMase, when you played, which cornerback were you afraid to go up against or did not want to play in the NFL?"
None of them. None of them. I wanted
It
to go
sounds like
against
Dan Moore the other day.
everybody.
Somebody said, "Are you scared?" of the
Yeah,
defense?"
it's
Scared?
Scared? No.
I was
No,
like,
there
what are
was
you asking? Why would
there
you
were
ask someone that?
there were some guys that were more challenging than others, but I relished on the opportunity to be out there with the top corners. I was upset somewhat because I didn't get to face Deion Sanders in his prime. Because you always want to try to measure yourself up against whoever the best defensive backs you say that are out there. So, but no, there was never a defensive back that I was scared to go against.
Texter says, "Derek, what did you prefer more? A quarterback who would give you chances with tight coverage or a quarterback who would throw you open, but sometimes into a tight spot?"
I mean, either it didn't matter, either one. Because our thing, I've said this before, wherever the ball is, you got to go get it. And our job is to make, when the quarterback isn't completely accurate and on point, we got to make him look good. And as if he was accurate and on point at every turn. So either one, but I guess if I would lean, I would rather, come out of my break and the ball be on me than, him throwing me to a spot, even though sometimes, it all depends on the catch and run, your ability to catch the ball and then run after that. But I usually like to as soon as I come out of my break, I want it on me.
Another texter says, DMase, would you like to see the SEC and Big Ten play each other more during the regular season rather than play 9 conference games?
I would rather there are more games, for both of those conferences, especially now. Because that's going to always be the debate back and forth is which conference is better. And obviously the Big Ten has a hold on that right now. But if you can get some of these mid-tier teams or, even some of the good teams to play more often, during the regular season, I think that would be, better theater for television. I tell you that.
We have time for a couple more questions. 615-737-1025. This is Ask DMase, the best question, and it's all subjective.
Mhm.
We'll get 4 tickets to go see the Cats in their playoff game on Sunday afternoon against Michigan, DMase's home state.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they wear maize and blue. I don't
I
know what the
hope not.
color of the Arsenal
hope not.
is, but hopefully it's green and white at least.
Yeah.
Go green.
Go white.
Good texter here says, and no name,
Mhm.
I think he put a previous text to our station, Joe. So let's call him Joe, whether that's his name or not. Do you have a good Champ Bailey story?
Not, I remember going up to, we played Denver when I was here. We went up to Denver. It was a Monday night. And this is when Champ, he's always been great at what he does. He's one of the greatest defensive backs that ever played the game. But, that was the whole week to match up against Champ Bailey and, us game planning for that. And that was one of those, situations where I went in wanting this matchup because he was the best corner and I was coming into my own as one of the best receivers in the league. And it was just a constant battle back and forth. I think I got the better part of that in Denver, and I think we did play here the next following year, and I ended up getting the better part of that as well. So, when I've had to play against some of the best, I fared pretty well. But then there are other times where, I couldn't, pretty much do anything because of, their ability to match my routes or their ability to, be on their game.
Tons of text today, but let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. T-Mac is on the line. T-Mac, thanks for waiting. What do you got for DMase today?
All right. What is the difference between the pressure of the playoffs and the Super Bowl versus the regular season? Because, you see so many teams go to the playoffs, and it seems like the pressure, you can even just feel it from sitting at home on the couch and watching it, that the pressure of the playoffs or the Super Bowl is too big.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, what is it about the pressure of the playoffs and the Super Bowl is so much different than the regular season? And how do you think teams like, the New England, the Tom Brady's and the Bill Belichick's were able to master that so much? I hang up and listen.
Thanks, T-Mac.
Thank you, T-Mac. It's just like anything else. If I gave you unlimited chances to make 5 free throws, there's no pressure. No pressure whatever. I'm giving you unlimited. Just shoot until you make 5. There's no pressure. But if I tell you you got 10 shots to make 5,
then it gets a little tougher.
Then it gets a little tougher. But then I tell you you got 6 shots to make 5, it gets really tougher. But then what if I say I already give you 5 shots to make 5 baskets? That's the Super Bowl.
The most pressure I ever, always at the end of a game if the game's close. But one thing our coaches used to do sometimes would be line everybody up on the end line. You choose one person to shoot the free throw.
Yes.
If you make it, nobody runs. If you miss it, everybody runs. So know that your team suffers.
Depends on you. Yes.
Yeah, you got to run extra if you miss that. So the stakes.
Yeah, the stakes are higher. And the teams that consistently find themselves in that situation, one, they're prepared for that situation. And like my man Bain said, listen, I've got accustomed to the dark. I love the dark. They've got accustomed to being in those situations. They love being in those situations where this is going to tell whether you are able to sink, are able to swim or sink, one or the other. And when you get comfortable in situations like that, man, more times than not, you're going to be able to win tight games like that. And New England was always in situations like that during the playoffs, and they managed to win them.
Here's a good one from Josh. DMase, I'd be like a fangirl if I met you. Who would you be starstruck if you met a celebrity? Is there a celebrity that jumps out?
Oh, I'd be.
Or maybe it's already happened to you someday. Were you ever starstruck meeting somebody?
Starstruck. I'm not going to say starstruck, But I am going to say, sort of like it's just like that feeling. It's like my palms getting sweaty a little bit. It happened. It happened twice. It happened. Oprah Winfrey was here. This was a long time ago.
Wow.
And I think the movie Ray came out. This was when the movie Ray came out because Chris's son was in the movie. CJ.
Yeah.
When he
Chris
was a
Sanders.
kid. Yeah. Chris Sanders.
Friend of the show.
Absolutely. So we all went to the theater and
Forever
she was
Titan.
there.
Yeah.
And came out and I shook her hand and said, hello, Miss. It's like, okay. Then you kind of, but then the
Fumbling
other
your words a
time
little bit.
was Jerry Rice. Like, cause I had
Is that
watched Jerry Rice, like, and I end up like actually like meeting him and talking to him for a second at one of these signings, these big signings. And it was like I was a kid, like, oh, this Jerry Rice, like, oh man, just the GOAT. So those are the two times.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I want to thank our listeners today because we had some great questions. That was a tremendous session for Ask DMase. And I want to tell everybody as we end up July and when we get back on Monday, we're going to be full throttle. Adam will be back with us. We'll be at full strength and we'll be in August. We're going to be in the month where the games start happening and we'll be counting down to another fall. School's going to be back in there. It is going to be full throttle. We want you to join us every day.
And there's a game Sunday.
There's actually a game on
There's
Sunday.
actually a game on Sunday, people.
Okay, and DMase, let's just finish the week by just giving people a little bit of advice. Don't bet on the game on Sunday.
Yes,
I know you're
don't.
excited. There's a game. If you like to do the wagering, that's your thing. But if you really, really are thinking and excited to bet on the Hall of Fame game, you might need to check yourself.
Yes,
a little bit.
exactly.
Just check yourself. That's all I'm asking. It's a free country. You can do what you want.
Do what you want.
Just look yourself in the mirror one time before you hit that send button.
Exactly.
On
Hold the funds in your pocket
I
for a little while.
think there are going to be a lot of points scored this weekend. Let's do it. Oh, boy. All right. So everybody have a great weekend. We're back with you on Monday. We'll resume our Titans coverage, and we will be full strength.
Be loved. Love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful weekend. I love you. The team loves you. Hear that music. Don't you forget about us because we will not forget about you. We'll be back on this airwaves, like Willie said, at full strength, getting ready for the season, and we will have more to talk about with the Tennessee Titans. And as I always say, we're going to be talking, and
you go be listening.
Peace. John and T-Man.
Yeah.
John and T-Man.
I like you.